Hello everyone, welcome back to Form of Therapy. This is the Culture Study. I'm the channel's video producer and your host. You can call me PD. And today we are checking out Last Breath by Mark Tuan. Mark is releasing his first, I believe, official music video. I think he's dropped like a single here and there, not accompanied by a music video. I don't know if you would call this a solo debut or a solo comeback, what you would call this, given that Mark is also not promoting, I don't think, in the traditional Korean sphere anymore. I heard that he wanted to make for a Western push. Now, a lot of Korean Americans, when they fulfill their K-pop obligations, do tend to go back to America and want to try to make it in America. Tiffany has done that. Amber, while not Korean, also did that, and Jay from Day 6, Ij, recently announced that he wants to make for an American push as well. And Mark, also not Korean American, but still an American, seems to be also going that route. And so I want to gauge, how his style is going to live up compared to previously his K-pop sound, and then just the general American sound in pop music as it is, and then the other attempts from other Korean artists to do a more Western approach. I have not checked out the previous single. I think it was a collab with somebody, but if you guys want me to check that out, let me know. But we're going to check out this music video. Before we do, guys, if you want to support the channel, as always, you can visit our Patreon. We have bonus content on there. We do listening parties. We do variety, reality, survival show reactions. We also react to K-dramas. So if you want to check that out, head on over to our Patreon. Of course, you don't have to support us monetarily if you don't want to. Just simply like the video. It would help promote both Mark and our channel at the same time. So we would really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and get into the video. This is Last Breath by Mark Tuan, and this is your Form Therapy.
Back off a minute, I need to be alone just to breathe. I try to hold it, somehow it doesn't.
I don't know why I was surprised that it was in English. I know that he's making an American push, so you could assume that it's going to be in English, but I don't know why that caught me off guard. I guess I've never really heard him sing in English, only Korean. Ooh.
But I'm trying my best, can't you tell? Last breath in me. I know you wanna take it away. You got your hands around my throat, so I only breathe when I'm alone. There's none left in me. You don't really care either way. It's hard to inhale when you're too close, so I only breathe when I'm alone. Can't hold it back, I'm suffocating. You're controlling
okay.
me and I can't escape. Oh no, I wish I would've known about your evil plans. Keep falling for these childish games, they're getting old to me, I don't wanna play, oh no. I never really needed you to hold my hand. Usually don't know how to handle these things, but I'm trying my best, can't you tell? One last breath in me. I know you wanna take it away. You got your hands around my throat, so I only breathe when I'm alone. There's none left in me. You don't really care either way. It's hard to inhale when you're
I like them pulling back a lot of the bass for the second chorus.
Last breath in me. I know you wanna take it away. You got your hands around my throat.
I wonder if Mark actually wrote this himself, or if this was written by somebody else. The second chorus has a lot of impact. Just getting rid of all the bass, all the heaviness, making it sound way more hollow, and then bringing it back again. Oh, don't tell me it's over. Oh. Oh. Ooh. Oh. All right. I gotta admit, whenever songs are this short, I always feel a sort of, I don't know, like, ah, man, I really wish they had made it longer. Sort of that kind of disappointment. You know, even if the song is good, it's just like, I wish. But as short as this song is, and I think it just ends at the second chorus. We're definitely gonna do a second listen, but I think it just ends at the second chorus without a bridge and a final chorus. I could be wrong, but I also don't get that feeling of disappointment. I feel like, oh man, I want it to be longer, but it just gets me more excited and it just makes me want to listen to the song again. I think a lot of songs that are short that have that problem is that they don't have much replay value. It's that, you know, the song doesn't feel cyclical enough that where it ends short and then if you just start the song again, it feels like this never-ending cycle where you can just listen to it nonstop. Not a lot of short songs have that sort of vibe, but I think Mark Tuan's Last Breath does. Mark, I also think, I have several high compliments about this. First of all, well, okay, let's talk about GOT7 overall as soloists, because I think everyone has gone the solo route at this point. I think everyone has put out some kind of solo content after leaving JYP. How is it that there are 7 members? So there is a possibility that one is just not going to be my style, you know, and that's perfectly fine. Everyone has different tastes and different music. How is it that every single GOT7 member in their solo individual music, I am such a fan of all of their individual styles? I love Yugyum's, I love JB's, and unfortunately I can't react to JB's just because they get blocked on YouTube for some reason. So I'm sorry, I can't react to JB. But Jackson's been doing some really phenomenal stuff. Youngjae and Jinyoung with Dive. Oh my God, there wasn't even a music video for that, and that song was amazing. He barely promoted that, and I feel like that could have been a title track. And he just, you know, did a couple performances here and there, but you know, Dive was also amazing. And now Mark, Last Breath is also fantastic. Everyone, it's showing everyone with their very different styles, and it seems like Mark and Jackson definitely lean a little bit more in, I would say, I don't know, this very hip realm. I don't know quite how to phrase that, but Yugyum and JB seem to be going the more R&B route, and then Youngjae and Jinyoung are definitely a lot more pop. And then you got Bam Bam, who went full pop. Bam Bam, surprisingly, is the only one who went K-pop. Well, I guess Youngjae could be, you could say that he went that route as well. But still, Jackson and Mark, I think there's a lot of similarities there in their music video stylings. I think they're treated very, very well. Last Breath, this music video in particular, also is shot definitely to emulate more of a film look. It definitely gives off a lot of indie film sort of vibes. With the lighting, you know, you don't go for the traditional, very obvious K-pop lighting. They went for much more subtle cinematic lighting. Even just that last shot of Mark right here, you know, the backlit silhouette, very classic cinematic tones. So I'm a fan of the music video style too. You know, up until this point, I would say Jackson had my favorite music video cinematography for sure. But in the sense of like, I felt like I always feel like Jackson's stuff is always too short, and he cuts off the journey short. But I also think it's probably because his music videos are really, really ambitious, and so they can't be too long either. But for me, Last Breath feels like a very complete journey. By the end of it, it feels very complete. And I think the difference between Jackson's production and Mark's production is I'm a fan of the directing in Last Breath. I really like the choice of shots that they used and how they end it. I mean, even just ending the video with Mark walking into, I assume, a lake, and then how he reaches into the water, and then they transition to him coming out of the tub, and it's called Last Breath. So there's a lot of symbolism there. So I'm a really big fan of the directing style. It says directed by Will Chan. I'm a fan of Will Chan directing this video. I think it was fantastic in that regard. Also, something that I'm really surprised by is how good Mark sounds. And I don't mean that I was expecting him to sound bad. In fact, I was a little excited because when it came to GOT7, I was very much a casual GOT7 listener up until the You Calling My Name era. That's when I really, really got into their style and like all their B-sides and stuff. And I was a fan of just Mark's voice in general. I thought Mark always offered a very interesting addition to like the overall sound of GOT7. And then they let him do some more singing stuff, very different stuff in that You Calling My Name EP. And the more they let Mark do all these different things, and Mark, I feel like he did a lot of like very hype man rapping in like a lot of early GOT7 stuff. And then that sort of started changing. And once I started seeing like all the different stuff that he was capable of, when, you know, they announced that they would kind of be doing solo stuff, I was actually excited to hear what Mark and Bam Bam, I would say as well, because Bam Bam, I think, also fell into that realm of always doing a lot of hype rapping. And so I was interested to see what Mark and Bam Bam would be capable of. I gotta say, Mark, not only does he sound good, he also uses autotune in the chorus. And I gotta say, Mark Tuan might be one of the very few people in this world that actually sounds good with autotune. It's not a lot, but it's just enough that you can tell it's autotune, and it's a very stylistic choice. But the way that it doesn't also sound like that weird robotic thing that most people who when they stylize the use of autotune, they always have that like weird, very swimmy tone. But the way Mark uses it here, I think he uses it more so to like stylistically enhance his voice, but like that's it. He doesn't go like the full like ooh, like that weird autotune route, which I'm so glad for, honestly. Everything about this feels very, very careful and very precise, both in the song production and in the music video production. So let's go ahead and check it out again from the top. Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things that separates this music video from K-pop music videos in general, I mean, Mark is, I think, doing something right, which is he's already setting himself apart, and his music videos are, the style of this music video is already setting himself apart from the typical K-pop look and sound, which is just relying on natural lighting and practical lighting. So him being lit here, he's being lit by the machine and not by actual production lights. They probably stuck an LED up in the phone booth, so then he's being lit by the phone booth.
Back off a minute, I need to be
natural lighting.
Just to breathe. I try to hold it, somehow it doesn't do anything. It's hopeless. You come around
like this is really my style of like my favorite style of cinematography.
Knew that we would end up this way. Usually
color grading, slight, the more hipstery, enhancing like the teals.
One last breath in me. I know you wanna take it away. You got your hands around my throat, so I only breathe when I'm alone. There's none left in me. You don't really care the way. It's hard to inhale when you're too close.
The little falsettos.
Back, I'm suffocating, you're controlling me and I can't escape, oh no. I wish I would've known about your evil plans.
So Mark's going like a pop R&B route. It works for him.
I don't wanna play, oh no. I never really needed you to hold my hand. Usually don't know how to handle these things, but I'm trying my
His styling is very carefully done too. The tan jacket in a desert setting, it's well done. Alright, so this is definitely, oh my god, it does end on the second chorus. It's hard to inhale when you're too close, so I only breathe when I'm alone. One last breath in me, I know you wanna take it away. You got your hands around my throat, so I only using the car lights to light him. There's none left in me. You really carry the weight. It's hard to inhale when you're too close, so I only breathe when I'm alone. Yeah, whatever production lights they do use, they definitely use production lights, but they try to hide it and make it seem like it's part of the practical lighting. Oh, I love this. I love this. Ending on this sequence with like this very like heavy synth ending. I do hope he keeps that in the song. I hope that, like, it's not just like a part of the music video that they included that. Oh, there was actually more. That overhead shot. Interesting. They didn't have to do that, but they did. All right. Okay. That's the weird thing. This song is so short, but it's kind of perfect, in my opinion. Like, the length of it is perfect. I can't imagine what they could have done for a bridge, but, you know, sometimes the K-pop structure can be a little tired in that way. I think it's why songs that kind of disrupt that structure, even in American pop, are really interesting. Like, Justin Bieber and the Kid Laroi Stay. I really like that song. I feel like, oh, it's so short, but it's also perfectly short. You know, I think Last Breath falls into that category as well. It's short, but it's perfectly short. It doesn't feel like they're just cutting you off and they're just depriving you and they could have done more, but they didn't. That's not the vibe I get with Last Breath. It just feels like this is where the song needed to end. I would rather a song do that than overstay its welcome, I suppose, rather than the obligatory bridge. I think it's also why so many people freak out when they listen to K-pop and there's a good bridge and a phenomenal bridge. It's because a lot of bridges are very forced and they are, I mean, they're just there for the sake of being there. Kind of like how K-pop used to have the big trend of having like the obligatory rapper where you would force someone who's not even good at rapping to be a rapper just because K-pop songs need a rapper, right? And, you know, we've largely moved away from that trend. You know, there are still a lot of rappers in K-pop, but it no longer feels like it's an obligatory thing. And I feel like this is like, I don't know, maybe it's the revolutionary next step for pop music, you know, with Teddy doing it for his homies Dum Dum. He did that for Dum Dum, cutting it off short, although that did have a bridge. But, you know, maybe like songs being shorter are the future, but only like if it works. And I think it works for Mark's Last Breath. Overall, I gotta say, of all the GOT7 solos, so I guess I've seen all of them at this point. You know, I think if I would have to rank some of my favorites, I think Last Breath is really up there. I think Last Breath, especially, I think what I like is the big focus on a top line. You know, a lot of American R&B and a lot of American hip hop, the top line is not as wild and outlandish, mainly because JY recently explained it really well, which is that's not what the basis foundation of what hip hop and R&B is founded on, and not having like these big outlandish choruses, but because K-pop incorporates dance into it. That's why K-pop songs, whether it's R&B or hip hop, tends to have really big choruses because it's songs that the performers need to dance to. And I don't know if Mark Tuan necessarily, you know, he was dancing in the video. I don't know if he has like straight up choreography for this song. I think he could. I think it would totally work. And honestly, I would love to see that. I would love to see a K-pop artist coming onto the American scene and basically kind of forcing the bar to get higher. You know, Beyonce is lauded in America because she's one of the very few pop artists who actually does choreography in her performances. And I personally would like to see that becoming like a new challenge for a lot of American pop artists. Now, compared to a lot of the K-pop artists who migrate their musical sound to America, I think Mark nailed it the best. I think compared to everybody else, I think when it comes to a full English song, I think doing the sound and vibe, not only does it sound like Mark is doing a sound that he wants to do, and it's a sound that fits his style aesthetically and sonically, I think overall it's just the best produced song out of all of them too. I think Mark really, really nailed it. And if anything, I feel like Last Breath has perhaps, with the right marketing and the right promotional material, has the best. Sorry, not Last Breath, Mark Tuan in general. I think Mark in general has the best chance to break and pierce the American market more than any other K-pop artist has done so far. I think Last Breath really works. I think it satiates K-pop fans who maybe aren't as much of a fan as American pop music, like I am. I think it satiates K-pop fans, but also I think it is very, very digestible for a lot of American audiences too. And for American audiences, it probably adds a little something different into the mix because Mark has, much more interesting top lines. So, yeah, Last Breath. I'm going to give the song a 9 out of 10. I don't know what would have made it perfect necessarily, but I think the video, I have to give it a 10 out of 10. I think the music video was treated really, really well. I think the music video really, it was perfect. I have no other commentary other than perfect. It was ambitious for what they wanted to do for Mark's style. It wasn't cheap. It didn't feel cheap. It felt very cinematic. It set a mood and a tone, which sometimes some music videos don't do, mainly because music videos are very different from film. But, they set a tone like how you would do for a film. And so I got to give it a 10 out of 10. With that said, I think overall, whether you would consider this a debut or a comeback, overall, this whole package, 10 out of 10. I think Mark did a fantastic job. I think he is low-key. I have to hear an album. I really have to hear an album. I have to hear more music. But Mark could possibly be one of my favorite, artists, musicians. I've been raving about Mark ever since I got more into GOT7's music, and he's the one that I have really been looking forward to, and this totally lived up to the hype. And I really feel like if Mark is ambitious enough, and if it's something he wants to do, I really think he could disrupt and add something to the American pop R&B scene. I think it would be really, really interesting. I think Mark fits the American style aesthetically as well. So I want to see more. I want to see more from Mark. I don't know what that previous single he released is called, but if you guys let me know in the comments, I will check it out. But guys, that's it for my reaction and review to Mark's Last Breath. Let me know, what do you guys think? I personally really enjoyed it. I think out of all the GOT7 solos, it's definitely up there for me personally. But let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, please feel free to like the video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. You can check out our other videos over here, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.